We are joined now by Jean-Michel Grand, Executive Director of Action Against Hunger UK. Thank you very much for joining us here on France 24. Now, forgive me by starting this way, but it is Christmas here in Europe, so we're often hearing this Band-Aid Christmas song that raised money for the Ethiopian famine 40 years ago. Now, all these decades later, is the situation worse or is it getting better?
Despite some good evening first. Despite some progress in some regions and countries, unfortunately, there are still around 700 million people who are suffering from hunger, and within that, around 47 million of children under 5 years old who are severely malnourished. So we can't say that the situation has improved, and in fact, it has deteriorated. It's worse than 10 years ago. More worrying is that, as we can see in your pictures now, is that severe food insecurity and the risk of famine are on the rise, and starvation is proliferating as a weapon of war. So the idea of achieving the Sustainable Development Goal, it means to end hunger and malnutrition by 2030 is now unreachable.
Now, you say that the situation seems to be worsening. What are the main causes at the moment?
Conflict. First of all, conflict is definitively the main driver of hunger. And in addition to that, we have the increasing impact of climate change, economic challenges, and gender inequalities are the four main drivers. But conflict by far, and we have seen that all over the news, are by far the biggest driver of hunger.
So what actions has Action Against Hunger been able to take to try to remedy this?
First of all, the first thing is that we are trying to save lives, first thing first. So we are providing humanitarian assistance in all countries where there is high needs. And you mentioned Gaza, but also there's a massive risk of famine and worrying situation in Sudan, in Yemen, in Burkina, in Mali. So I think that we are, first of all, providing humanitarian assistance. Secondly, we are treating severely malnourished children. They are by year, we are providing treatment to around 700,000 children, but we are also looking at the root causes and how we can mitigate, detect, mitigate, prevent some hunger and malnutrition to happen through water and sanitation, through agriculture and food security, through mental and psychological support. So trying to understand what are the causes, what are the drivers of hunger, and how, as an organization, we can mitigate so that people can be better, in a better situation to face hunger and fulfill a wealthy life.
And right now in the Northern Hemisphere, it's winter. How does that affect people struggling with hunger?
Obviously, the winter, especially in conflict areas, is aggravating the situation and accelerating the risk for the population. So what we are doing as an organization is that we are trying to help them with a provision of or rehabilitation of shelters, hot meal distribution, or we are also distributing food kits so that people can cook hot meal at homes. We have winterization kits, including fuel, kitchen utensils, and obviously warm clothing and blankets. So trying to help people to go through this harsh winter, being in Gaza, in Ukraine, in Afghanistan, everywhere where people are facing a dire situation with the coming winter today.
Do you have any positive case studies where the famine or the hunger is starting to go away now?
There are cases. I think that you have cases in, fortunately for us all, the situation is not all bad. And I think you look for decades, child mortality has decreased. It's just this last 10 years, it seems that we are stepping back. We are backwards. Just to give you an idea, today there is around 52 conflicts in the world. That's the highest number of conflicts since World War II. So there have been progress, and suddenly over the last 5-10 years, all the things is backwards. However, there have been progress in Bangladesh, in part of Bangladesh or Mozambique, and where being progress in agriculture, but also any countries or any region where there was more justice or gender rights, where women were given more power in the decision, more access to assets and land, or in decision making, we have noticed there was noticeable progress combating hunger.
And to what extent have you noticed that, you've mentioned it already, but climate change also, how's that complicating things?
Climate change is accelerating, so we have crisis. So we have seen the flooding and the drought, which is really affecting the ways of that people's livelihood. Especially there's more and more tension between pastoralists and farmers on access to land, access to water. So there is really an effect, and so we have to work with the population in how we can improve their resilience, how they can be better adapt to the climate change. So I think that it's not about bringing back people where they were before. It's really to make sure that they are better adapted and resilient for future crises. So we have to work with the population in this transition towards more and more climate crisis.
Jean-Michel Grand, Executive Director at Action Against Hunger, thank you very much for being with us with that analysis.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.